Thank you guys for allowing me to share my heart about this ministry. Aaron was the one who was originally invited, and he was not available, and I was just kind of excited that I got to come because, first of all, we just really enjoyed our time with you in January and just loved the feel of the church. I was excited to get to come and have an opportunity to share my heart. Let me back up a little bit and tell you a little bit about me and how I ended up here at Scarlet Hope. You guys know my husband's a full-time pastor, and we were pastoring in Clinton, Kentucky, and had been there for about 8 years and had just sensed the Lord kind of stirring, but we didn't know where, what was going to happen. Felt like that he, for about a year, he had been kind of leading in some different directions, and so we did not expect the door to be opened through me at all. That is not, it was just completely unexpected. And so when this opportunity came up, I had seen it online. I had come to visit Scarlet Hope a couple of years ago. I'd done some ministry in Thailand and taken some groups to the red light district in Thailand and trying to figure out how that fit into what God wanted me to do this side of the world and in the small town that we lived in. And so somebody introduced me to Scarlet Hope about 6 years ago, and I came and visited, and I was just, all the way home, I was just crying. I was like, I just want to be there. I want to be there. I want to drive. It's a 5-hour drive, and I'll just drive once a week. And, so I go home and I tell Kev, I said, let's go to Louisville. And he's like, babe, no. God's called us here. This is where we're ministering at. This is where we need to be. No, the answer is no. And I was like, oh, Kev. So for 6 weeks, I drove him a little bit outside of his mind over it. And then finally, just realized the answer was no, and thought that was the end of it. I really did. I prayed for them all of the time. I followed them on Facebook, and I just, they were continually in my prayers because it was just so dear to my heart. But it just wasn't, I just didn't see how it was ever going to be possible for us to be here. And then they posted my position online this time last year, and my daughter graduated from Union University in May last year, and so I sent the link to her, and I said, baby, here, you need to look at this. This would be great for you. And she reads the job description, and 5 minutes later, she calls me, and she's like, Mom, did you read the job description? This is not for me. This is for you. So I was like, absolutely not. Kev's already said no 6 years ago. He's not changed his mind. No. Well, you know how the Lord he just keeps on and on and on. And so I just stayed sick to my stomach over it. And Kevin told you, I talked to him about this on a Sunday morning, which is nuts. It's, you don't mess with the preacher on Sunday morning. My husband's been in full-time ministry for 20 plus years. That's a rule. It's not one I've ever really messed with. But he was standing there, and he thought something was wrong with me, and he wouldn't quit. So I was like, well, here's what's happening. And the Lord just blew the door open after that. I am incredibly thankful to walk alongside a man that loves me and loves the Lord so much that he's willing to really examine, is this how the Lord is using, us to move us to Louisville? And, could it be through her instead of actually, placing me in a ministry at this point? So it was just interesting and I cannot wait to see what God's going to do for Kev, because we know that we just know we're where we're supposed to be, so we're anticipating God to do a great thing there. So that's a little bit of my backstory. I am crazy passionate about the job that I get to do. It is the weirdest thing in the world to describe. I go into strip clubs every Thursday night and minister to women who people have forgotten about, and they're exploited and they're taken advantage of, and they've all suffered incredible trauma. And so a little bit of backstory on Scarlet Hope. Some of you might have heard Rochelle speak. I'm not sure whether she's been here or not. Has she ever visited here? Don't know. Okay. 10 years ago. We celebrated her 10-year anniversary this past year. She was driving back and forth to work and was passing by a strip club, and it was over across the river. And she was just really, just felt compelled, was just like, Lord, who's reaching these women? Is anybody doing anything? Are there any churches involved? And so she started praying about it. And then, because you don't want to reinvent the wheel, if somebody's doing this, that was a ministry she could join. So she asked around, started going to churches to find out if anybody was reaching out to these women. And the answer was no. That, they hadn't even no, we're not going into strip clubs. No, we're not, no, that wasn't happening. And so, she just felt like the Lord was just continuing to press that on her heart. And so she continued to pray about it. And she prayed about it and fasted for 18 months before she ever approached, any of the clubs at all. And then one day the Lord just opened the door and said, it's time, you need to go and you need to ask. And so she went in and she didn't want to be mistaken for someone seeking employment. So like she had a turtleneck on, and was just all wrapped up. And she goes in and she sat down at the bar and ordered a water and waited just a few minutes and was praying about it. Her and a friend, we always go in twos, so she was with someone else. And her and a friend was sitting there, and she was just asking God, tell me when, tell me what to say. She did not have a speech planned out. She, wasn't exactly sure how it was going to go. So the bartender was there, and finally she was like, why are you here? The bartender asked Rochelle this. And so she said, well, I just was wondering if it would be okay if I brought a home-cooked meal in for the girls once a week. And I was like, no, you can't do that. That's weird. No, you can't do that. So she was like, she knew she was supposed to be there. She knew the Lord had opened the door. So she was just like waiting. And there was this gentleman standing over off to the side. And she said, she doesn't know. She didn't know who he was. She had no idea, but she knew she was supposed to approach him. So she did. And she asked him, I'm not here for employment. I'm just interested in knowing if I can bring a meal in for the girls once a week. And he said, what's the catch? And she was like, there's no catch. I just want to bring a good meal in for the girls. And he said, sure. And he was the owner. So she was like, and, it's funny because she said she didn't have a speech prepared, and the fact that it went so well, so she was like, okay, well, great, so she started, and that's how it started. Initially the meals were all cooked out of her home by friends and family, and then as it has grown, I can't even count the number of cooks that serve for me on a monthly basis, because there's so many of them. A lot of churches rotate things out, so I would say that our volunteer list is over 300 in that area. I have an average of 35 active outreach volunteers. I wish I could give you a number on our career development program, but I can't, because again, they're numerous. We are blessed and depend greatly on the volunteers that serve with us. So that's just kind of a little bit of background on how it got started and how we got into the clubs. We have continued to pray. We've been in at one time in Louisville up to 22 clubs at one time. We are not in that many right now. There's only about 14, I think, active clubs right now. We're currently serving weekly in 6 of them. We get in and out of them as management changes or, drama happens or whatever. It's the nature of the thing. So we're used to the ebb and flow of that. But we've seen God do just a tremendous amount here recently and open additional doors. So I'm very excited about it. But so let me back up a minute to what outreach looks like. I'll start there because that's my favorite. I'm going to make sure that I don't talk too long about my area. So what a day in outreach looks like for us is that we start at 2:30. We have day outreach. There are 2 clubs. There's more than 2, but we're in 2 day clubs where they actually they're open in the day. So we take the girls a meal that is working that shift during the day, and we just spend time with them. We spend at least 2 hours in there at a time, and we just hang out and talk and share life in Jesus, and we have amazing opportunities to share the gospel. And we do that regularly. The goal for club outreach is that we'll build relationships. It is not our job to rescue them or even convince them to leave the club. That's Jesus's job. But that's our mission statement, to share the hope and love of Jesus Christ with women in the adult entertainment industry. And so we depend on the Holy Spirit to do his job, and we do ours of loving them unconditionally. Just this past week, I had a girl come in, and it was the first time that she had been in that club since we had been back in it. We've only been back in this one about a month and a half. And so she came in and she was just like, what is this? What is this? And so I introduced myself, and they call us the church ladies, which is interesting to hear that screamed out across. I kind of love it. The church ladies are here. They get very excited, so that's fun. And it freaks everybody in the place out, which I like that too. But anyway, so she was like, I don't understand. And I said, well, we just bring, we bring a meal in every week, and we just want to hang out with you guys and let you know that you're loved. And she said, why would you do that? And I said, well, God loves me, and he rescued me, and I want you to know that he loves you. And she was it was so, and a little bit later she came over and she hugged me and she said, I was 15, I got pregnant when I was 15, and I was in church all of my life, and my church family kicked me out. And that's all I've known about church. That's been my church experience, that they don't love you through hard times. And so I was blown away that you're here. You're here, like where the location, and she was just emphasizing that, you came here to tell me how much that God loved me. And I just had the opportunity again to share with how he's pursuing her, that he has not given up on her, and that he loves her right where she's at. And it's just amazing to get to do that. To be a volunteer on club outreach, you have to be a volunteer, period. At Scarlet Hope, we have a volunteer orientation where we go through just everything, that's involved with the program and what that looks like. There's an application to fill out. We do a background check, and then we ask for references. And there's an interview that you go through. And then I take my volunteers we all do take them all very seriously, but I particularly am careful with the volunteers under me because we are exposed to a lot of trauma and difficult things that we see. So I believe wholeheartedly in self-care and making sure that, you have someone to decompress with, and that, there's conversations and check-ins with that. So if you're on my team, it's not just, I have ministry to the women in the clubs, but I also have a ministry to my volunteers. So you go through you go through the application process. You have the interview. We do some initial training on, we don't just take you in if you've never been in a club. There's lots of loud music and weird things that you see, and so we kind of have conversations about that. And then you're required to participate on our prayer team. I take the stand that if we don't have a prayer team, we don't go out. Because if somebody's not praying for us, then we're not covered, and we're walking into the darkest places in the city, and we need Jesus. And we need to know that somebody is interceding for us in the moment that we're doing that. So I have a house prayer team, and I'm desperate for volunteers for that because we've grown in our club outreach. I've had to pull my house prayer team into actual club outreach. And so if you're a prayer warrior and you would love to come at the Hope House and pray for us while we're out in the clubs, call me. My card is up here, and I would love to get you plugged in for that because, like I said, we just can't go, without that. So, but you start out on house prayer. You participate on that for 4 times, and then we do gift drops every month to the clubs that we're not currently in. And so I can take you on a gift drop. It gives you the opportunity to get in and see it, and then we have conversations. We pray about it again, and if that's where you still feel like the Lord's leading you, we get going. We conduct trainings every week about trauma-informed care. We have suicide trainings. We have self-care trainings. We have how-tos and all kinds of things. This is something that requires a tremendous amount of commitment. Our ministry is very relational, so you have to be able to commit to twice a month to participate in club outreach because the girls need to be able to trust you. So if I'm taking you in with me, they need to be able to see you more than once a month. Or once every month. They don't know you, they won't recognize you. And so anyway, but that's kind of the gist of club outreach. We have street outreach that we do every other week. That is one of my favorite things in the world to do, and it's just exactly what it sounds like. I don't think we do enough of that in the States. You see a lot of doing that, but to come and just literally we walk up to women that we see on the street, we hand them a rose, we tell them that we're here because God loves them, and we ask them if we can pray for them. We have gotten to share the gospel so many times in this street, and it is the best thing ever. And so that's a really cool thing that we do. And through the winter months, we haven't seen as many women, but we ministered to over 100 women last summer through street outreach. So, okay. So we have, so we got street outreach. We have, there are, like I said, the day clubs during the day. And then my cooks are vital. Do you want me to wait a minute? It's okay. It's very stressful. Okay. It's
closer, you can turn it down a little bit so it's not ringing. Try that.
okay. Okay, so my volunteer cooks, and I'm going to say, every time I start to think about it, I think, well, these are my favorite, and then these are my favorite, and these are my favorite. I love all of my volunteers dearly. The cooks make it possible for us to take the food. They're the vehicle. That's how we get into the club. But the care that goes into, and I'm so impressed by my teams, because the care that goes into the meals that they prepare, and just the heart behind it, you can tell it's just the food is amazing, and the girls are so they love it so much. They follow us into, it's like the little trail, we come in with the red bags loaded with food, and they follow us into the dressing rooms, and it's just amazing to see. And a lot of times that is the only really decent meal that they've had all week. So I appreciate the men and women who cook for us and deliver that to the Hope House. We have two types of teams right now. We have a commercial kitchen team where you come in and we have partner with food agencies in the community like Dare to Care, and so we have a pantry that we can pull food out of. And so you come into the kitchen and you prepare the meals, and then we pack them and take them out. We also have what we call old school, and that's where it's kind of like church social style, where you might say your Sunday school class wants to sponsor Club 15, and you're going to cook a full meal for them, and then you bring that to me at the Hope House. We pack it up and we take it out. So that's what a cooking team would look like. You would either be a drop off where you brought it, or you would work at the commercial kitchen. So do you have any questions about outreach? No? Y'all are quiet. Okay. All right. Yeah, no. I'm sorry. I don't know enough of the details on it. And I don't remember it exactly, but it has to do with a girl named Scarlet. But it was such a neat story. I don't. I'm sorry. Get her to share that. Yeah. I'm sorry. I wish I did. That's not one that's there in my head. I apologize. We have the reason that we exist in outreach, and the reason that we started this was because the national sex industry, 85% of the women in the sex industry were sexually abused as children. 95% of women in the sex industry have been raped. 89% of women in the sex industry said they wanted to escape but had no way out. And so that's what we're about. We want to give them the opportunity to get out. These women are not there because they want to be. And, that's just a myth. If that's somewhere in your brain, it's not true. I'm like I said, I'm in there every week, and I've spoken to a lot of women, and 100% of the time, they're not there because they want to be. Trauma has happened, and it's been a cycle, and it's survival for them. And so, and they don't know or understand, the reality. Louisville has over 30 adult entertainment establishments. 5,000 women are serving in the state of Kentucky in strip clubs, and we are the 9th largest adult entertainment industry per capita in America. That's a big deal. And we want to see that. When we started, we were the 4th. So we've made some improvements, but it's still very prevalent in our city, and it's just a very, very important thing for us to be a part of. We start with outreach, and then we move into our career development program. So my goal is to interact with the women in such a way that we've developed relationships with them, that they get involved with us outside of the clubs, and we invite them into the community that we have at Scarlet Hope at the office, and we have a career development program there. We offer things like Celebrate Recovery, so we have a an option for those that have addiction problems to come in and get started, healing in that. Bible studies, a safe place for them to be and just come and just relax. A lot of them don't have that, and so we have a washer and dryer if they need assistance. That way they can come in and do their laundry for free. We always have meals that are ready, we can prepare, we can provide clothing for them, food boxes, things like that. We also do some case management for them, so they come in from, like if we meet a girl in the club and they are struggling with, they're homeless, or they want a job and they don't know how to do that, or they need their GED, or they don't even have an identification or a birth certificate. They can come into the office and we can help them get those things, taken care of and help get them stabilized and secure and safe. And once they're in a good environment and they're safe and they have a home and they've got their identification, they're off drugs, then they can enroll in our career development program. That is a 30-hour-a-week paid program for the women, and it starts where it's primarily classroom based. And so they come in and they take classes, parenting classes, finance classes, boundaries. We do a lot of Bible studies, practical living kind of things. They do a CPR class because of the bakery stuff that they work in over there, and they have fitness classes. It's kind of a whole health approach, a whole body, mind, spirit kind of thing approach for them. They crack me up when they come back from Barefoot on Wednesdays. They literally act like they're all dying. Apparently they have to turn semi, tractor, trailer. I don't know. It must be a challenging workout, but they're just very, just a whole approach for their well-being and their care. We offer them counseling. And so they, because again, they all come in and they have these stories that are so terribly sad. And so it's not possible for them to go from the clubs and straight into a regular job. That's just not going to work, the amount of the things that they've been through. So the CDP gives them an opportunity for healing, and like I said, it's an 18-month program. We start them out in the classroom and they gradually work their way up. We've got one of our girls, we had 2 graduate last September, and we have one of our girls that'll be graduating this September, and she starts her in April. She starts her full-time internship at the bakery, and so we're looking forward to seeing her transition into that, that area of the ministry. So the bakery is our social enterprise, and we are opening, and I'm going to leave a couple of these over here. Our St. Matthew's location will be at 106 Fairfax. That's opening in March, and so you can be on the lookout for that. It's on the card, but it's not currently open. We have a downtown inside the First Trust Center that is open. We're doing a grand opening on Monday morning at 8:30. If you have an opportunity, you should come down and check it out. It's a grab and go. It's a really small space. It's only like 200 square feet, so like 4 of us can get in there at a time. But, if you're downtown and you want to grab a cookie, it's a great place to do it. We're really looking forward to the St. Matthews area. We feel like that, Shelby Park's hard for everybody to get to, and so we're really praying that will enable us to provide more opportunities for the girls that we're ministering to and more opportunities for them to work. So really looking forward to that. And like I said, that'll be down here. Ways to volunteer for the CDP, for the Career Development Program. Teachers. We are currently preparing for our April semester to start, and they're looking at those classes right now. So, and you don't have to be a teacher to help us out. We can train. We have some parenting classes. We have a finance class, and we teach the book Boundaries. Are you familiar with that? Anyway, it's a great program for them, the Boundaries. I teach one of those classes on Mondays, and that just is a really good thing to help give them a starting point. And so I'm not an expert in Boundaries. I just read the book, and we have a curriculum that's really easy to follow. And so so if that's something you're interested in doing and getting involved in that level, and you have some time during the day that you could contribute, teaching would be an amazing thing to do. We're also looking for mentors right now in our career development program. We like to see that all of the girls are connected with solid Christian women who can model for them good relationships and, and just love on them, outside of us. We do that all of the time, but, seeing that other people are interested in their lives is very important. So we like to have them all have a mentor. It is not... It's not a scary thing to do or even a huge time commitment. We do some training for you and give you, there's some check-ins and things to follow through with. But again, there's training, and it's a wonderful thing to do. One of the blessings for me that I was unprepared for when I came here is my heart's always been outreach, and I came with a clear understanding. We've been doing ministry for 20 years. Outreach is hard. People, you don't get the response. It takes time, it takes time, it takes time. And so I knew that doing this was going to be slow. It was going to be a marathon. It wasn't going to be a sprint. To see results and see women, come out of the clubs, it wasn't going to happen overnight. And so I knew that. The relationships were going to take time. And then I get to work in the office, and I get to come in contact with these women that I love so very, very much, and that have enriched my life so much. It's just really difficult to tell you. They are precious, and I just get a kick out of them every single day, and mentoring them, is a blessing to me, and it would be a blessing to you. So if you pray about that, and if that's what you feel like maybe the Lord's leading you to do, you can call me, and I can get you set up and connected. Some other ways to volunteer just at Scarlet Hope in general is our offices. We have a front desk and answering phones and, doing things like that. If you've got a couple of hours a week you can donate, that would be amazing because, we are a nonprofit and our staff is limited, and so we are all responsible for all of it. And so to free up some capacity, for us to not be at the front desk buzzing people in or, answering phones would be great. That's truly a blessing for us. And so the hours on that may vary. I don't have the time. Another thing that we do is service projects. So for example, for outreach, we are having a major food drive that we are anticipating a tremendous response from in June from a very large church here in town, and we're very, very thankful that they are partnering with us in this. But they ask us, do you have the capacity to handle a box truck full of 3,000 items? And I was like, yes. And I'm thinking, well, Kari, that means you have to unload 3,000 items off the box truck. So we have work groups come in and help us do things like that. We also love for men to get involved. We have, and I can't remember, Renelle does such a great job of the title, and I have forgotten it now. But the Hope House is there's yard work and light construction things that need to be done and stuff that we need done around the office that we just can't do. And so if you have those kind of skill sets and you're interested in helping, with things like that, that would be great. One of the things that we're also looking at for this summer is to put on some just special events for the women. So that would look like maybe you have a WMU group that wants to help us put on Mother's Night Out for the girls that we're serving. And so you're willing to come and you want to do something to pamper the girls, and you want to do like a VBS activity for their children. So things like that. So that would be like a mission project that you could do where it would be a one-time service thing instead of, a year-long commitment kind of thing. So I think that I have covered everything. If you don't have any, do you have questions? I get ahead of myself.
Do you have a key verse for your ministry?
Yes. Wait. Watch it not be in here. Y'all are asking me tough questions. Like verses. And what our name means. Oh my gosh. Sorry, my boss is going to... Don't put that on the thing. No, it's not in here. I think what I stick with, and Matthew 27:28 is everything around the office. But what it is that it's kind of our mission statement. We share the hope and love of Jesus Christ to the women in the adult entertainment industry. So that's where my head is at all of the time. Any questions that aren't hard? It's that's a really good question, and it's really interesting the relationship that we have with the club owners. We've been doing this for 10 years, so they know what we do now. We do protect the name of Scarlet Hope when we're in there. Like I said, they call us the church ladies, so I don't go in there with my name tag, and we don't advertise that we are Scarlet Hope. But again, we've been doing this for too long, so I feel like that some of them have probably made some connections. But it's really interesting. I kind of feel like it's one of those things where, in the Old Testament, the Lord used lost people and the kings, like that were rulers over it, but he gave them favor. He gave his people favor in their eyes. And so that's a lot of times what happens. It's really bizarre. In almost every club, I can't even think of one that does not do this right now. The bartenders that are there, the bouncers that are there, the managers that are there that are men, they're very protective of us. If they see us getting out of the car, they'll come out and carry the bags, and we carry a bag and a tote in with paper plates and things. They walk us out to our cars at night. So it's a bizarre thing that Jesus does, and I just feel like it's his protection. I really do. So we have had, we had one club say, we need y'all to stop coming in because when you leave, the girls go home. They feel guilty and they go home. So we need you to stop. So, that's happened, but we're just like, okay, can we bring you gifts next month? And they let us bring gifts. And so it's just really it's a God thing. It's just a God thing. Yes, they know what we do. There are clubs that we're not allowed into, like we're just not in the conversation, the door's shut, and we just believe that that's, again, our protection. So, yeah.
When I heard her speak 5 or 6 years ago, she had said 300 women had come to know the Lord. Do you know what that statistic is? How many women learned Christ in this time period?
No, I don't know the metrics on that. And I think that one of the things that's not necessarily something that we're counting like that. We are ministering to right now over 700 women a month. And so we are meeting with, in my time here, we're meeting with outside of the clubs, and this is our goal. We are meeting with 4 or 5 women a week. And so, making those connections, attempting to meet them outside of the club and things like that. But I don't have a statistics on current salvations to date, no.
Did you say we were still doing the Bible studies on Thursday night?
They are not. Club Zero evolved. That was something that they were doing, and that evolved. And when we moved into our offices, things kind of shifted, and that's something that we're working on, developing a day program for the girls through outreach right now. And so that's something that has it. No, they're not doing Club Zero at this point. That changed and shifted around. We're doing in lieu of, we've started the Celebrate Recovery program, and we're looking at this summer beginning additional day programs for them to come into. Yeah. We went through a season where we were in a lot of clubs, and then, the Lord, for whatever reason, just shut some doors. And so we kind of had to restructure some things and rebuild, and like I said, we're seeing him open doors again now, and so we've got some exciting things going on. Another thing that is happening is we're looking at working on developing a new outreach avenue with text outreach, and that will be where we are partnering with a ministry in Seattle, and they had partnered with Microsoft to develop a program that can go into the websites, the Sex for Sale websites. And so we're starting that next week, and I'm really excited about that because the clubs are closing down. It's getting harder to minister to in that avenue. Now, we always will, as long as there's a club open, that's where we'll be. But we know that there's a lot more going on in our city than just that, and so we were trying to figure out, what that looked like and how to reach those people. And so the Lord's opened this door, and so hopefully next time I can come and I can talk and tell you that we've got a text outreach team, where we're able to communicate with those women that way and meet them that way. So, Yes. All over, yeah. We have church partnerships, that we partner with churches, but we operate solely off of donations from various people. We don't have one particular thing that, we have partnerships, but donations.
What time did you say you go into the club?
We start, it varies. We enter in, the one that I go to particularly, we try to get there by 9 o'clock, because if we're later, they're already out. They're in the dressing room when we get there. So, but we have some clubs that are later and they don't go in until 11. I don't wrap things, yeah, at night. I'm not usually home before 2 o'clock. We have a day team that goes out at 2:30 in the afternoon. Yeah. And the day team is usually back by 5 p.m. And then the night team rolls in around 8 o'clock. We do devotions. We wrap things up between 9 and 9:30, and then we head out. Anything else? That's really led by the Holy Spirit. We're not necessarily targeting. You can tell. If it's a prostitute, you can usually tell, and we do try to approach. That's our population. That's the women that we want to serve. But we truly, it is just led by the Lord, and if we feel like He's leading us to stop and talk with someone, we do. And we've met lots of women outside of the industry that we were able to refer to, resources and get them some assistance through that ministry. But usually you can tell if they're out working. Yes.
What was the generation? You gave some statistics earlier, but I remember I was shocked at the generation. How many parents, the grandparents, the mother was a stripper, the children were strippers. Do you remember any of those?
Well, okay, yeah, 100% of the women that I have talked to were sexually abused as a child. And now, statistics I can't give you, but in the 6 months that I've been in the clubs, I talk with at least 2 or 3 girls a week whose mother was in it and actually got them involved. So it is very, very, very much a culture. It's not. It's like, my dad was a carpenter, my husband was a carpenter, my son is a carpenter. It's kind of like in a different way, but it is generational for sure. Did you send it? Yeah. I can't tell you. Jesus. But Jesus. Yeah, no, we are very careful. We don't go out alone. We go on Thursday nights. We go under the authority of the Lord, and we pray fervently before we leave. And it's something, I talk to my team all the time, like, you're missionaries. I need you to prepare like you're missionaries. This is not an act of service. You're going into the mission field every Thursday. So just like you prepare, if you've been on an international trip, I've taken people to Thailand, we prepared for that for a year. My expectation is that if you're on my team, you're preparing for that every day of the week. That you're intimately involved with Jesus, that you have FaceTime with Him all of the time, that you're praying for the women that you serve, and that you're praying for our protection, because it is serious. One of the things that I communicate on a regular basis is there are darker places in Louisville, but there's not very many darker places that we can put our hand on the doorknob and walk into. And it's amazing to me that the Lord allows us to do that. It is also amazing to me that we have not had, in the 10 years that we've been doing this, there's not been any incidences. There's not been any volunteers injured, or we've just not or threatened or, anything like that. It's just blows my mind. It's a God thing. It's amazing. It's just his hand on it, 100%. Yeah. Anybody else? The Hope House is on Sycamore. It's down off Franklin. Am I saying that right, Franklin? Is that a real thing? I'm new, y'all. Frankfurt. That's better, right? I think so. Yeah. Yes. And our offices are downtown on Chestnut. I was going to tell you something. Okay, our next volunteer orientation is March the 2nd. It's the first Saturday. And so if you're interested in getting involved, we do require that everybody that volunteers in any capacity go through the orientation. So that would be a good date to maybe announce if you're trying to get people involved in local missions. They want to, if they're even remotely interested, that's going to give them a complete overview of everything that we do and all of the requirements. Yes, this one is at the Hope House, but you have to register online. Yeah, so you can go to scarlethope.org, and there's a link for the registration sheet, and then I will send you, you'll get a link for the registration, and then after the registration, we'll send you the application process. Anybody else? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. Yes, we do. If there's something that you're interested in donating, one of the things, because we want to make sure that we can utilize it, and that we want to be good stewards of what God is offering. So if you just because right now, like car seats, for the girls in the program would be good. We just recently had a need for a baby bed, and we didn't have one. So like if like things like that, larger items, give us a call and ask about it. Clothing as well. Sometimes, like right now, I believe that our Scarlet shop, that's something that we do for the women that are in the program. They can, every quarter, I think, they get dollars and for accomplishments and things like that they're involved in the program, and then they get to go shopping. And so yes, we can take donations through that, and that can not just be clothing, that can be shoes. We try for the clothing and the shoes in that particular shop to be business geared, so they can do. But we also need casual clothes too. But baby items, household items, pots and pans, household decorations, we take things like that in because it gives them the opportunity to buy stuff that they wouldn't be able to do, maybe retail. So yes, we do that. Anybody else? I'm so thankful y'all finally started talking to me. Okay. Thank you very much for allowing me to stumble around up here and share my heart about this. I've left my business card, and so if you have any questions, you can, please feel free to holler at me. My email is also on there, and you can just get in touch with me. Thank you.
Did you have any idea? That is a ministry we know almost nothing about. That's a culture we just don't connect with typically. And I'm so thankful that God has raised up a ministry and Christian women who have a heart for the women in that industry and their families. So I'd like for us to end tonight. Kari, I hope this won't embarrass you at all, but I'd love for you to come sit right here in this pew. And I'd like for our ladies that would like to, just to come and gather around here. And a couple of you just voice a prayer for her and the protection of the teams, for the work that they're doing, and that the gospel would always be central, and that God would begin to open blind eyes and unlock deaf ears, that the gospel can penetrate hearts and lives, and that there would just be an awakening among this population of ladies, that God would honor this work in a mighty, mighty way. But he will do it best through the prayers of his people. So if you don't mind, if you'll sit there, ladies, any of you that want to, and men, if you want to meet me right over here, we're going to pray. We're going to pray for their protection. We're going to pray for the families of these ladies who go into these clubs, and we're just going to ask God to encourage the families as they encourage their wives and moms. And then following this, we'll be dismissed. Kari, thank you for coming.